For years, electric vehicle batteries have been treated like a ticking clock. Every mile driven, every charge cycle completed, slowly pushing the battery closer to its end. That limitation has always been the biggest concern for EV buyers. But what if that fear was completely outdated? What if a battery could last longer than the car itself? Longer than its owner? Even longer than an entire human lifetime? Because behind closed lab doors, scientists may have already cracked exactly that nut. A few years ago, the idea of a million-mile battery exploded across the internet. The concept sounded almost unreal. A lithium-ion battery that could power a vehicle for decades without needing replacement, all while costing roughly the same as existing batteries. For a brief moment, it felt like the future had arrived early. Then, just as quickly, the story vanished. Most people assumed the idea had quietly failed. But that assumption couldn't be further from the truth. The research never stopped. It simply went silent. Behind the scenes, battery scientists continued pushing the limits of durability, and what they found went far beyond a million miles. Instead of aiming for distance alone, researchers began focusing on cycle life. How many times a battery could be charged and discharged before it meaningfully degraded, and the results were staggering. Some experimental cells weren't just surviving thousands of cycles. They were cruising past 10,000 with barely any loss in performance. That's not decades of use. That's centuries. The secret wasn't a single magical material. It was a smarter approach to how batteries live and breathe. By pairing high-quality graphite with advanced nickel-based chemistry and carefully tuned additives in the electrolyte, scientists found a way to dramatically reduce internal damage during charging. Fast charging no longer meant faster degradation. In fact, under conservative use, these batteries barely aged at all. The less aggressively they were pushed, the longer they lasted, a detail that changes everything. Here's where it gets wild. Most drivers don't constantly drain their batteries to zero or charge them to 100%. In real life, EVs usually operate between about 20 and 80%. And within that range, these experimental batteries showed almost no degradation, even after thousands upon thousands of cycles. At normal temperatures, some cells retained over 90% of their original capacity after what would equate to millions of miles of driving. That's not theoretical anymore. That's measured performance. Of course, extreme heat still takes its toll. At higher temperatures, degradation accelerates, but even then, these batteries outperform today's commercial packs by a massive margin. Instead of failing after a few 100,000 miles, they keep going strong, far beyond what most vehicles will ever experience. Which raises an uncomfortable question for the industry. If a battery lasts longer than the car itself, what happens next? That's where things get interesting. Instead of recycling batteries once a vehicle is retired, ultra-durable cells could simply be reused. A battery removed from a scrapped car wouldn't be old. It would still be nearly new. It could be installed into another vehicle or repurposed entirely. Delivery fleets, commercial trucks, ferries, even industrial equipment could all benefit from batteries designed to outlive multiple machines. But that's still not the most disruptive part. These long-life batteries unlock something far bigger, turning electric vehicles into mobile power stations. When cars aren't driving, they're sitting idle with massive amounts of stored energy. With the right infrastructure, that energy could be fed back into the grid to power homes, stabilize renewable energy fluctuations, and reduce strain during peak demand. It's called vehicle-to-grid, and while it sounds futuristic, the concept is already being tested. The catch: batteries must be strong enough to handle constant charge and discharge without wearing out. Until now, that wasn't realistic. Now, it might be inevitable, but while lithium-ion chemistry is being pushed to its absolute limits, another battery type has been quietly waiting for its moment: lithium. For years, it was hyped as the successor to lithium-ion, promising lighter weight, far higher energy density, and drastically lower costs. Then, it disappeared. Early versions failed quickly due to unstable chemical reactions that destroyed the battery from the inside out. Most people wrote it off. Researchers DID in single quotes T. Recently, a breakthrough changed everything. By stabilizing sulfur on the cathode in a way no one had successfully done before, scientists managed to prevent the destructive reactions that once made lithium-sulfur unusable. The result was a battery that didn't just survive, it thrived. Suddenly, the chemistry that once failed after a single cycle was holding strong after thousands, and the cost shockingly low. Sulfur is one of the most abundant elements on Earth. It's often treated as industrial waste. Compared to cobalt or nickel, it's practically free. That alone could slash battery costs to a fraction of today's prices. But performance is where things really get crazy. Lithium-sulfur batteries can store nearly 3 times more energy per kilogram than traditional lithium-ion cells. In real-world terms, that means one of two things. Electric vehicles could travel triple the distance on a single charge. Or they could maintain today's range with much smaller, lighter, and cheaper battery packs.
On the other hand, Tesla
Fast
was
charging
rather
doesn't seem
reserved
to
on
scare
the
these
subject of
batteries either,
bidirectional
even
charging
under
with
aggressive
reference
charging
to battery
conditions.
life.
Lithium-sulfur
However,
cells
some sources
retained the
revealed
majority
that
of their
Tesla was
capacity
preparing a
after hundreds
bidirectional
and
charging
even thousands of
function later
cycles.
on.
While still
Furthermore,
early,
develop and
the
apply
numbers
million-mile
suggest a
batteries
future
for
where
its
long-range,
models.
low-cost,
It will
and fast
be
charging
battery
aren't trade-offs
technology
anymore.
breakthroughs.
They exist together.
Ultimately, has
Just when
any
it seemed like
electric vehicle
lithium-sulfur was the
company
ultimate
applied
upgrade,
this
another contender
million-mile
entered the
battery
picture.
technology?
Graphene,
In China,
aluminum-ion
BYD
batteries.
and
These cells behave
CATL, the
less like
battery
traditional
giants,
batteries
sizing an
and more
electric
like
vehicle battery life of
supercapacitors. They charge at
750
blistering
battery
speeds.
technology
Some
breakthroughs.
demonstrations suggest
Ultimately,
charging times
has
measured
any
in seconds,
electric vehicle
not minutes.
company
They're
applied
lighter,
this
safer, and require
million-mile
little to
battery
no
technology?
cooling, eliminating
In
a
China,
massive chunk of battery
BYD
pack
and
complexity and weight.
CATL,
There
the
is a
battery
downside,
giants,
at least for
sizing
now.
an electric
Energy
vehicle
density
battery
isn't
life
as high
of
as lithium,
751
but researchers
million
believe
miles,
that limitation
which is
isn't
equivalent to
permanent,
5 to
even
7
in their
decades
current
of
form.
average drive.
Graphene
Meanwhile, in the West,
aluminum-ion
a GM
batteries
spokesman
excel in
said that the
applications
company's
where
Ultium
rapid
battery,
charging
which will
and
be
long
used in its
lifespan matter
electric
more
cars,
than raw
will
range.
last a million
Think regenerative
miles,
braking, grid storage,
they also promised
and
its
high-power
Ultium
systems
battery
where
would be
traditional
cheaper and more
batteries struggle.
efficient than any
Then
other
came the
conventional
accidental
battery.
discovery that
According
shocked
to
even
a
seasoned
report, there will
researchers
be more
aluminum
than
sulfur
300
batteries
million electric
built from some
vehicles
of the
by
cheapest and most
2030.
abundant
It's
materials
only
on the
7
planet.
years away, so
These
at
batteries
80
avoid
million
many of the
vehicles in
safety
7
issues that
years,
plague
you'll
lithium.
need a lot of
Instead of
batteries made
flammable
using cheaper
electrolytes,
and more
they rely on
abundant
molten
materials.
salts
At
that are
Drexel,
inherently
we're looking
resistant
into
to fires
a
and
brand
short
new
circuits.
type of battery
Dendrites,
that's cheap,
the tiny
with the
metal
price of
spikes that cause battery
$17 per
failures,
kilowatt
are
hour. So
naturally
why
suppressed.
does this
Even more
lithium-sulfur
surprising
discovery
is their
make it
charging
the
behavior.
future of
In
battery
lab
storage?
tests,
Over the
aluminum
last
sulfur cells
few
charged to
years,
full
lithium-sulfur
capacity
batteries
in
have
under a
been
minute.
touted as
They
a
actually
strong
perform better
candidate
at
for
higher
market
temperatures,
storage era,
turning what
but
is
they haven't
usually
made
a
it to the
weakness
market
into
yet.
a strength.
Now, a group
And the
of chemical
estimated
engineers
cost,
has found a
under
way to
$10
enable
per
their
kilowatt.
real-world
That's not a small
application.
improvement. That's a complete rewrite of battery economics. So why aren't these batteries everywhere
Been
already?
difficult due to
Because
what the
lab
researchers
breakthroughs
describe
and mass
as an
production
irreversible
are very
chemical
different
reaction
beasts.
between
Scaling,
intermediate sulfur
manufacturing
products. This
consistency,
has resulted in nearly
regulations, and
immediate
infrastructure
shutdown
all
and
slow
complete
things
one
down.
cycle. Thus,
Most
the research
experts
team
estimate
at
several
Drexel
years
were looking
before
at ways to
widespread
redesign
adoption.
the battery's
But behind the
cathode in
scenes,
order to actions
industry
that take place
insiders
during the
suggest
charging
timelines
process.
may be
But what they
shrinking
discovered
faster than
instead was
expected.
a rare chemical
One thing is
phase
clear,
of sulfur. The result
the future
shows
of
that this
batteries
battery
won't be
actually
defined
performed
by a single
amazingly
winner.
well. How
Different
much will a
chemistries will serve
lithium-sulfur
different roles.
battery cost?
Long life
In a world
lithium-ion
where
for
commodity
vehicles.
prices for batteries are going
Lithium-sulfur
crazy,
for
switching to
ultra-long range and
lithium-sulfur
lightweight
isn't just a good
applications.
idea, it's
Graphene
incredibly
and aluminum-based
sensible.
batteries
Sulfur is
for
much
speed,
easier to
safety,
find than
and grid
cobalt
support.
and nickel.
The battery
Plus,
war
it's
has
obtained
already
as
started
a
quietly,
byproduct of various
methodically,
industrial
and far
processes,
from the public
such as
eye.
petroleum
And when
refining
it finally
plants
reaches the
by
market,
47%.
it won't just change
However, the
electric
cost
vehicles.
of sulfur
It will
is
change
dirt
how we
cheap.
store energy,
Currently, to make
how
the
we power
comparison,
cities,
you can purchase
and how
nearly
we think about
200
the
tons of
lifespan of
sulfur
technology
for what
itself.
you pay to get
The real
1
question
ton
isn't
of
whether
cobalt.
these
The
batteries are
researchers
coming,
say they
it's which
have
one arrives
optimized
first.
production.
And whether the
Lithium-sulfur
world is
battery
ready when it
costs
does.
6 times
What
less
makes
than
this
Tesla's
moment
current
different
4680
from every
battery.
battery breakthrough
Again,
before
that's
it
about
is timing.
$17
The world
per
isn't
kilo.
just
Sulfur into the
experimenting
cathode
anymore,
formulation
it's demanding
would relieve
solutions.
pressure on the
Governments are
EV
setting
supply
deadlines.
How does a
Automakers are
lithium-sulfur
committing
battery's
billions.
energy density
Power
outperform
grids are
that of a
buckling under
lithium-ion
renewable
battery?
energy swings.
According to the
And
research,
suddenly,
a
batteries
4680
aren't just
cell's energy
components
density
inside devices.
was 240
They're becoming the
milligrams. In
backbone of
contrast, the
modern
energy density
civilization.
of the sulfur battery
That
will be.
pressure is
What does that
forcing
actually mean
innovation
in
at a pace
practice?
we've
Well,
never
for
seen
instance,
before.
if you were to swap your
Behind the
EV
scenes,
lithium-ion battery
automakers are
with a
watching these
lithium-sulfur
breakthroughs
one,
far
you
more
could drive your
closely
car
than they
needing a
admit.
recharging
publicly.
station. Or you
Most
could keep
companies
your
stay
existing
cautious,
range with a mud
repeating the
battery
same
pack.
safe
Today's
talking
top
points about
performing
incremental
EVs using
improvements.
today's top performing
Privately,
EVs
reports
using
suggest
with a lithium
engineers
sulfur
are
battery.
already
Now
testing
a car with a
next-generation
battery that
chemistries
how
in
long does it
prototype
take
systems.
to charge the lithium
Not because they want to
sulfur
replace
battery.
lithium-ion
These new
tomorrow,
batteries have
but
the
because they
advantage
know
that they
something
can
big is
retain
coming,
90 charged
and missing
and
that
discharged
shift
in 30
could be
minutes.
fatal.
The researchers
This is
add that
especially
these
true
batteries
for
can
electric
still
vehicles.
hold 74%
Right now,
of their initials.
batteries
What
account
does
for
the
a
C
massive
mean
portion
exactly?
of an EV's
The
cost,
C
weight,
rate
and
is the
complexity.
unit battery
Cooling
experts
systems,
use to
protected
measure the
housings,
speed. For
software
comparison,
management,
4680
all of it
batteries are
exists
charged
because
cycles,
today's
and they
batteries
fully
are
charge
fragile
in
under stress.
52 minutes.
Change the
Dr.
chemistry,
Kalra
and
and
suddenly
her coworkers